Pregnancy changes at week 3. Your body changes at week 3. What are the changes that do happen during week 3 of pregnancy? You are pregnant and you are at week 3. What are the changes? What do you expect at the changes that happen at week 3 of pregnancy? Gerard Massa, the health educator, is the name of the channel, and today we are going to talk about your body changes at week 3. So remember, at week 1 and week 2 in our previous video, you can always check it out in our library, in our playlist. We talked about the body changes that happen at week 1 and week 2. Today we are talking about your body changes at week 3. So specifically, fertilization took place during week 1 and week 2, and then this fertilized egg began happening. Changes began taking place in your body. Specifically, these were hormonal changes. So at week 3, what happens is this: the fertilized egg, also known as the zygote, it goes on multiplying and dividing in size. It undergoes division by a process that is scientifically known as meiosis. It goes on forming exact copies of itself. It makes 2, it makes 4, it goes on dividing. Basically, at week 3, there's division, or there's dividing of the fertilized egg. So this division specifically ends up forming a whole cluster of cells. These are fertilized cells known as the blastocyst. So the first name that is given to your embryo after fertilization has taken place is what we call a blastocyst. So this blastocyst, or the fertilized egg that is dividing, goes on traveling through the length of the fallopian tube, and then remember, fertilization took place in the ampulla. The ampulla is that junction of that part which is the junction of your fallopian tube. So the fertilized egg travels up to your uterus. But before we talk about what happens in the uterus, the fertilized egg left that part which is known as the follicle. Remember, you can go to our previous video and you can learn more about the follicles and whatever happened in week 1 and week 2. So what happens is this: the follicle is that part where the egg left. So that particular part where the egg which was fertilized left, it forms a collection of fluid, and this fluid is what we call the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum fluid. In most cases, we can actually even call it a corpus luteum cyst. But specifically, the corpus luteum, or the part where the egg left, is very important in the continual production of 2 hormones. The hormones we are talking about include progesterone, and then the other hormone that is produced is called estrogen. But the corpus luteum, after releasing a fertilized egg, specifically pumps, or it produces more of progesterone. What is the role of progesterone and estrogen in early pregnancy during week 3? What happens is, progesterone being produced by the corpus luteum goes and forms actually a thickened layer of your lining, of your uterine lining. It makes the uterine lining, the wall of your uterus, it makes it to produce, it prepares it for implantation. It prepares it for the other fertilized cell we talked about. Basically, the progesterone and estrogen produced by the corpus luteum, specifically, it goes on and makes your uterus to be ready to receive the fertilized egg, also known as the blastocyst, that is coming in. So specifically, progesterone is not being produced by the uterus. It is being produced by the corpus luteum. And remember, we said that the corpus luteum is that part where the fertilized egg left. So in week 3, what we need to pick out is this: the fertilized egg divides, forming a blastocyst. The blastocyst travels to the uterus. The part where the fertilized egg was released from the follicle continues producing progesterone and estrogen. These two hormones go on and prepare the uterine lining. But what is very important for us to note also is that if this is the uterine lining and then the egg comes and attaches on top, there's going to be what we call burrowing or implantation. The fertilized egg is going to dig deep onto the uterine lining or onto the uterine wall. This digging deep or this burrowing of the fertilized egg brings about breakage of some blood vessels, also known as lacunae. Now, as these blood vessels are bursting and they are actually creating space for the egg that is burrowing inside, there's going to be rupture of some blood vessels. Rupturing of these blood vessels brings about some little spotting or blood coming from your private parts. This little blood that is coming out as a result of the fertilized egg attaching onto your uterine lining is what we call implantation bleeding or spotting. As soon as the egg attaches itself onto the uterine lining and there's that little blood that has come out, which actually stops by itself within 2 to 3 days, you should not worry about this. Most women call this their period. It's not a period, it is implantation bleeding. Confirmation that the egg has attached onto the uterine lining or onto the uterine wall. What happens is that the placenta will begin to form. Formation of the placenta brings about formation of the placenta initiates a process of production of the two hormones we talked about. These hormones include progesterone and estrogen. Remember, when the placenta begins forming like this, the corpus luteum, which was producing the progesterone and the estrogen, stops its function, and now the function of production of the hormones progesterone and estrogen is taken over by your placenta, by the placenta. As the placenta is growing, the production of progesterone and estrogen also increases. There's also production of another hormone known as HCG, which actually is always tested in urine early in the morning after roughly the first week and the second week. The levels of HCG hormone tend to be high. So today we have talked about the changes that happen during week 3, and remember, we shall talk about something briefly about the chromosomes. The chromosomes are those genetic makeups of the husband and the wife. The husband has actually 23 chromosomes, and the wife and the mother has 23 chromosomes. During fertilization, these 23 plus 23 form 46. So a baby normally has 46 chromosomes, and specifically the mother supplies the X chromosome and the father supplies the Y chromosome. If the father supplies the Y chromosome and the mother gives the X chromosome, then we end up with a baby boy. If the mother supplies the X and the father supplies the X, then we end up with a baby girl. So basically, a man or your husband has an X and Y chromosome, and you as the woman, you have the X and X chromosome. That was a brief biology lesson, but specifically we were talking about the changes that happen during week 3 of your pregnancy. And what you need to take out is that during week 3, the fertilized egg, also known as the blastocyst, travels to the uterus and then it attaches, and then there's production of the two hormones progesterone and estrogen, first from the corpus luteum, and then second, corpus luteum stops as soon as the placenta begins forming. This is going to go on for the remaining period or until you make the 9 months, until you have the baby in your arms. So week 3, basically fertilized blastocyst, fertilized egg comes, attaches onto the uterus, production of estrogen and progesterone takes place, and then the process continues. In our next video, we are going to talk about the changes that happen during week 4. We remember we are going week by week. I'm putting up videos talking about the whole process of growth of the baby from week 1 up to the last week, which is the 40th week. So remember to check out all our videos in our playlist on my channel about the development of the baby throughout the weeks. Check out all the videos, get this information so that the whole process of pregnancy will be very fantastic, because you will be equipped with knowledge and you will know what is happening. As an addition, the hormones progesterone and estrogen increasing in your blood tends to make great changes in your body, and at week 3 you expect to have an increased taste, to have an increased sense of smell for most things. For example, perfumes, different types of foods. There will be an increased sense of smell. There will be increased nausea and vomiting, and specifically to manage these, just stay away from strong fumes and strong smells. And then the other thing is, you can eat some bread mixed with some pasta of ginger. You can actually take some ginger in hot water. You can also take very cold ice water. You can take some ice crystals. You can get an orange, slice in the middle, and then just suck it out without making juice. Just suck the orange. And then you can also eat more bland foods that are not rich in oils. And then the other thing is, you can eat more of crackers. So during week 3, there's increased sense of smell, there's increased nausea, there's increased feeling of sickness in the morning. So you can handle this by eating small meals, and then having a positive attitude, and then having your family or your husband helping you out with most of the work, so that you do not overwork yourself. So thank you for staying with me. My name I'm called Gerard Massa. I'm a health educator. I talk about health education. I talk about women's health. So remember to subscribe, hit the subscribe button so that you get more videos we are putting up every day. Remember to check out our next video I'm putting out. It's about the changes that happen during week 4. Changes that happen during week 4. Also remember to support our channel so that we can put out more of these videos on a large number. And then of course, share this video with all the pregnant mothers, or all those mothers who are planning to get pregnant, so that they can understand what changes will happen. Thank you. Have yourself a fantastic and healthy, blessed day. Greetings, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.